Back for Arfield. 1-0 Burnley. Scott Arfield. He's been threatening that recently. And all the Burnley players run to the Darwin end.
Burnley win the next ball. It's Rory now. On the outside. Decent.
He got it. Ashley Barnes with it. What a cross from Rory. And there was Ashley Barnes. And Burnley leading the derby.
Oxy quickly finds Benson in space at the byline. Can Burnley get a goal here? Back for Brownell. Saved by the keeper.
Burnley won it to the end. That is magnificent. They deserve that.
Only by Paul Teller. Off for a hat-trick.
He's got it. Hat-trick for Nathan Teller. Oh, he's on fire at the minute. 3-0 Burnley. It's Nathan Teller's day.
And Burnley are 3 up here. Fantastic derby. Here's Benson. Can he go on the outside? Comes inside. Tommy Shaw.
Oh, the goal. Manuel Benson once more. That is top class.
Burnley have done it. Fantastic. Clarets deserve the championship title. They've been the best side throughout the campaign. Burnley have won the second tier. What a fantastic achievement. The players have been magnificent.
Yes, hello everyone and welcome along to the latest instalment of the Turfcast podcast pre-game show with me, Joe Redman, ahead of this weekend's trip down south to face Bristol City at Ashton Gate, Saturday, 12:30pm, which means obviously the international break is officially over and it's the last international break until March. So nothing but Burnley and Turfcast for the foreseeable future. How happy that makes some of you after the starts of the season that we've had and some of the things I've said. I'll leave that up for your interpretation. But personally, I'm looking forward to hopefully an assault on the top two. But I know some of you don't think that that will be happening. We'll see what happens. But as you can see, as always, I'm joined by a fan of the opposition. And I'm pleased to introduce Patch from Three Peeps in a Podcast. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm really good. And you just saying there that the international break is over. Thank God for that. You know, it's been 3 international breaks. It seems like it's more than we've ever had before, but I'm told that it's always the case.
Yeah, I think it's been like this for about 5 seasons now. But like before then, it was like 1, I think.
Yeah, it seems too much. And obviously, I'm a massive England fan in tournaments and things
same.
like that. But it's I'm not 100% behind the Nations League. But there we are. We're back now. Championship football, proper football has returned.
Yeah, I mean, the Nations League, I guess I'll let, again, people interpret it how they want. It's just glorified friendlies. But what I do like is San Marino winning 2 games and get promoted out of it. And that's absolutely insane. Although I saw a tweet, funnily enough, from a guy known as being quite negative on the Burnley Twitter. He'll know who he is when he hears this, because I know he listens. But he put a tweet out saying San Marino scored more goals in open play than Burnley have since. And honestly, I couldn't believe it. I checked it and it were right. I'm like, for God's sake. But yeah, I guess the Nations League is good for the smaller nations. Unless you're Ireland, of course, and you get battered everywhere you go. Again, apologies to the Irish Burnley fans, but that was a great win, and I did enjoy that one. But anyway, let's get into it, mate. Let's talk about Bristol City, because obviously that's what this is for. We don't know anything about Bristol City, so you're here to tell us about Bristol City. Tell me the thoughts on your season so far, mate, because just looking at the league table, and all right, it might seem traditional Bristol City in 10th, mid-table, always around that area. You and Preston, as I joked on your podcast, but Preston do seem to be falling a little bit, which is good. But yeah, 10th, but that doesn't tell the full story, does it? You've had quite a good start to the season.
Yeah, it has. Apart from 2 away games, Blackburn away and Derby away, where we lost 3-0 to both on both.
Yes, you're in trouble for that, mate. You can't be losing there. You can't be losing against them. Giving them confidence.
Blackburn in particular, I'm sure you're talking about.
Yes, I don't care about the other one bit.
after that, though, Blackburn seemed to have taken a bit of a nosedive. So yeah, maybe we'll see what happens there. However, we must praise Andy Vyman for his 2 goals against Cardiff. He loves to score against Cardiff.
He did score a fluky goal against us, though. So any praise on this podcast for Vyman will be taken with a pinch of salt. But You know, when he went there, he was one of them players where I'm like, why is he going there? He's a good Championship midfielder. Surely he's got his sights set on higher than battling relegation again this season. It looks like they may not be battling relegation again this season. But yeah, a fluky goal against Burnley, so we won't be praising him too much, unfortunately, mate.
No, well, I'm sure we'll be talking a lot about players that are former players and of your side and ours. So anyway, City so far this season, we said at the start of the season on our podcast we would be happy if we are flirting with the playoffs all season. And by that I mean, within sort of 2-3 points, it all in with a shout, and that's kind of where we are. We've drawn too many games. I think we've drawn more than any team in the whole football league. I think West Brom have just joined us on 7, and Chesterfield I think are on 7. But apart from that, we just need to convert some of those draws into wins, and we are now starting to do that.
Yeah. Well, we're on 6.
I thought you were just right to speak then.
No, I was just looking at it and I was thinking, well, that's the point I'll make next. I didn't mean to butt in, but we're on 6 draws. So you like to draw a game. We like to draw a game. So we can probably end the podcast there, mate.
Yeah, it's looking really good for Saturday.
Ashton Gate, shall we? 0-0 again. Yeah. So yeah, I mean,
I wouldn't be wanting to take a draw. The form we're in at the minute, I think we could nick a 1-0 against you guys on Saturday. So I never set out for a draw. Saying that though, against Leeds, I did sort of fist pump the air on the final whistle when we got a draw, because I think that was one of those games where we were literally hanging on a little bit. We did have a few opportunities, but didn't really threaten too much. And then up at Stoke, I think it was the following game, we had 28 shots. Went 2-0 down, came back to 2-2. Yeah. So yeah, it's been an up and down season. We have struggled with injuries, but we have the depth to be able to fill most positions if players are injured, or even a bit of flexibility. We've got what seems quite a lot of utility players who can play and do a job in multiple positions. So it's hindsight's a wonderful thing, but it'd be great to see where we would be without those injuries, and having our full strength team. But even our non-first pick team is still good enough to go to Norwich and get a 2-0 win. So it's been a good season. We're 1 year into Liam Manning's tenure. This Saturday will be his 50th game in charge, and he's slowly turned the squad from a Nigel Pearson squad into a Liam Manning squad, which I think you need to have your own players around you to impart those types of messages and the style of play and a fluid formation and things like that. So you've got to give managers time, and Liam Manning has now, as I say, had a year, has brought players in, and is starting to play his way of football. And quite frankly, it's exciting.
Yeah, fair enough. You mentioned there that your aims at the start of the season were to flirt with the playoffs. That's where you are now at the minute. Have these aims changed? Are you hoping? Because I'm just looking at some of the teams ahead of you. All right, Millwall have been in a great run of form, but that's not going to last. Watford, I keep saying this. I keep saying Watford will fade. I think the last time I said that, they ended up beating someone like 6-0. So watch out whoever's playing Watford this weekend. Other than
we've
that,
got them on Tuesday. We've got them Tuesday.
Apologies if I give them a kick up the arse there, mate. Blackburn will fall like a stone. So you could be there if them 3 do fade, looking at 7th if you keep up a decent run of form. And then it's just, as I've said on your podcast, like you just need that one season where you break into the playoffs and then it's a lottery and then everything's different about the club, even if you just spend 1 year in the Premier League. So have your aims for the season changed, or are they still the same? Just trying to break into that top 6?
Still the same. Yeah, I think obviously we want to be in the top 6. So I think we're positioning ourselves strategically, like a game of chess, to be there or thereabouts come the end of the season and make a late run. I think people get carried away once we get some results and go on unbeaten runs, and then we'll lose a game and it's the end of the world. Chairman out, Manning out, everything. It's football fans can be so fickle at times, but I think we have to, and Liam says it himself, is to be sort of upbeat in defeat and upbeat in a win as well. So, yeah, I think it's going in the right direction. I think we're going to be there or thereabouts, and I think to say that we should be in the playoffs now, Obviously, if we'd have beat Sheffield United, but if my auntie had what's her name, she'd be my uncle. So it's one of those.
Yep, that's no, a good point. You mentioned there Liam Manning and his manager and stuff. I guess the feeling amongst Bristol City fans is universally liked. There's no fans that are a little bit disgruntled with the manager at the minute. It's all rosy, is it?
If you asked me that question probably a month or two ago, after those defeats against Burnley and not Derby and Blackburn, around
That's
that
offensive.
sort of time.
That's offensive.
Apologies. It would have been a universal, universal liking. I think there would have been a few question marks about some of the in-game decisions that were being made and some of the substitutions, but he's trying to instill a way of playing and trying to instill a method of football. And if some of the players can't execute that, then he's done all he can, and we just need to keep working on it with those players. So I think the recent form, going on that unbeaten run, apart from that Sheffield United game, which kind of got in the way, but individual errors that was down to, and what can a manager do about that? So it's definitely swinging quite down the line to Manning. People are happy with Manning at the moment, I would say.
Yeah, just going back to the brief slip of the tongue there, I think we can both agree that we do not like teams called Rovers. All teams called Rovers, if they could just disappear off the face of the earth, that everyone would be happy with that. Apologies to Tranmere Rovers fans and Doncaster Rovers fans, but
I'm just trying to think. So Forest Green. I think I've run out now.
Yeah, don't really pay too much attention to it. You've obviously there talking about the manager. You mentioned style of play, way of playing. You've also said he's now built his own team. What is that style of play? Like, how are you going to play this weekend?
Yeah, so it's very much a formation in possession and out of possession. It sometimes looks like 4-4-2, but we're probably going to start, I would say, in a 3-4-2-1 against you guys on Saturday. But when you're attacking us, that will become 4-2-3-1, and maybe even some of the those three will drop back in as well and form more of a defensive line. So it's very fluid. We try and pick the formation, and we're on WhatsApp groups saying what position, what formation are we playing, and it changes from kind of every 5 minutes, it seems, on the pitch. That's why I think it's so important to go to the games. Some of these games that are on TV at weird times and things like that, you can't tell what formation or how people are playing. So to be there in person, home and away, it gives you that full vision of the pitch, and a lot of it is now off the ball running and things like that. So yeah, it is very fluid. Max Bird and Mehmeti will probably be in behind ex-Burnley Nahki Wells, who is currently our first choice striker at the age of 34, I think he is now.
Yeah, I can't believe he's still going. I can't believe he's still
it's
going.
Amazing, isn't it? 500, I think it was 500 league games that he celebrated last week. So yeah, he's still performing, and he's up for contract renewal at the end of this season as well. So hopefully we can keep hold of him for a little bit longer. And I think he loves Bristol, so I won't be surprised to see him stay around in a playing coach capacity or something like that. But we've also got Sinclair Armstrong and Fally Miulu, who were two signings in the summer. So Sinclair came from QPR and Fally came from Rapid Vienna in Austria, the French striker. Both are capable. Both are young. Both have got a lot to learn. Sinclair Armstrong is a 100-meter sprinter, and if we get the ball sort of past the defender, I don't know how quick your centre backs are, but he's likely to beat them in a foot race. He just needs to work on his finishing. He scored a couple of goals this season, as has Fally Miulu, who's got a great shot. Will always engineer to try and take a shot. But it's just fitting into the way of playing that both of them are working on at the moment. So options and different options, I think that's the key. Nahki Wells, we know what Nahki Wells is like. He's a great finisher. He's very clever. He uses his body well for a not as physically a big player as the other two. And hopefully they'll learn from that. So that's kind of, if one thing's not working, we can go down a different road. Max Bird can play in the middle. He can play in a number 10. Jason Knight can play in number 10 or in the middle. And Jason Knight has been our best player so far for me this season. And he is all over the pitch. He's a player that is all over the pitch. So there's quality everywhere. What we need to do, like against Norwich, is get them all performing at a 7 out of 10 or above. Because if we perform like that every week, we're absolutely going to make the playoffs. But, that's not always the case.
Yeah, if only it were that simple. If only Burnley could play like they did every week against Luton. But obviously, a lot of them players were then sold on, which is why we are where we are, in my opinion. Obviously, let's get into the connections between the two teams. There's quite a lot of them. You just mentioned Naki Wells there. I'm sure some Burnley fans somewhere would be saying underneath this or underneath one of our videos, he could still do a job for us with all injuries we've got, even despite him being 34. But do I disagree? I mean, I'd rather be playing a striker as a striker than a number 10 as a striker. But obviously, fingers crossed, Lyle is back this weekend. And now that's not, before you listen to this, that's not me saying Lyle is back this weekend. I just heard before the international break that the club were looking to get him back after the international break. We'll have to wait and see what Scott Parker says in his pre-game press conference. But obviously, let's talk about the ex-Bristol City players. Now at Burnley, obviously the main one that stands out for everybody would be Josh Brownhill. Ended up getting a decent money move to Burnley for the Premier League at the time under Sean Dyche. Relegated not long after, though, unfortunately. And Burnley fans tend to be a little bit frustrated with Brownhill this season because we always find that he's brilliant in the Championship for us and probably just average, maybe below average, some would say, in the Premier League. But this season is not really clicked into what he did the last season in the Championship. Having said that, I do still think he's the leading goal scorer at the minute. But he's good at that. But that's what he does. He'll not do much and then pop up with a decent effort, just arriving late in the box. And he's a good finisher, as you know. But what are Bristol City fans' thoughts on Josh Brownhill?
Oh, we love Josh Brownhill. 161 appearances, I think he made for Bristol City, and was part of that team that went to the Etihad and went 1-0 up, and were 1-0 up at half time, and almost made it all the way to the League Cup final back in 2018. That was so. He fit in there really, really well, and alongside players like Bobby Reid, Joe Bryan, who went on to play in the Premier. It was a really special team. He obviously stayed for a little bit longer as well, and eventually left us to join Burnley. But he was someone who was really creative, could score goals, was a commanding presence, and I think, unless we went up in that season back in 2020, he was always gonna move on, and fair play, he went off to play in the Premier League with yourself. So he is someone who we've taken a while to fill that gap, if I'm completely honest. So yeah, massive loss to Bristol City, and I'm sure again he will get a great reception, but not maybe as big a reception as someone else if they should make an appearance.
Yeah, let's get on to Masengo then. Obviously, universally liked the majority of Burnley fans like him, even though he's not played that well, just because he puts himself into the community, just because he goes out and goes on walks and takes pictures and shows that he cares about the town, he cares about his surroundings, he wants to go and look at things, he wants to explore new places, and fans love that. Like most footballers will get a flat at the top of the Deansgate skyscraper in Manchester city centre and only go to Burnley to train and on match days. Not Masengo. He obviously lived up the top of Cliviger, I think it was. Recently moved to Worley, which is obviously out of Burnley, but in the Ribble Valley and still nearby. A lovely part of the world. But obviously, difference in Hando Masengo for us and you is that he actually played games for you and still did all the Instagram stuff and still looked like he cared about the city, and obviously in your case. But yeah, tell me about Hando Masengo, please, mate, and the Bristol City fans' thoughts on him.
Yeah, 99 appearances for City, never scored a goal. I think if he had scored a goal, then I think the roof would have come off Ashton Gate, because they were willing him to get that goal. I think we as fans couldn't actually work out his best position. what kind of his role was. I think the closest we got was sort of comparing him to like a Makaleli type role, where they're not going to score many goals. They're going to, break up the play, retain the ball, and set someone off. That was what Masengo was. He was someone who kept hold of the ball. We call him a bit of a Rottweiler, someone who was going to just literally, this is my ball, I'm going to keep it. Skillful, had a bit of flair, which obviously goes down well with fans when it comes off. But yeah, maybe he struggled a little bit in terms of executing the game plan of the manager. So he didn't always play. But when he did play and when he played on song, he was usually one of the better players on the pitch, to be fair.
Yeah, I think I want to see more of Masengo. The midfield has been slow. The midfield hasn't been great for Burnley. And I always seem to find that the midfield, even though it's a fluid midfield and you'll see people, changing, it might look like we've got two defensive midfielders, but the chances are one of them's playing in the 8 role. And then you'll see the likes of Brownhill pushing forward and stuff to help out going forward. But I would like to see Masengo. Do I want to drop him for Cullen? I'm not sure. Cullen hasn't been great this season, even though he was fantastic the last time we were in the Championship. The game just is kind of passing him by sometimes, I think, Cullen this season. I'm not sure if it's a system or he's just not clicked into, his way of playing this year after a difficult year in the Premier League. But I won't mind seeing Masengo given a go in that midfield.
Well, he would be massively up for it on Saturday.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be obviously I want to win the game, but Scott Parker should be thinking, right, Masengo, former Bristol City, why not? Let's give him a shot. Is he fit? He wasn't even on the bench last game.
I'm not sure. I don't think he's injured. If he is,
right,
it's bypassed, man. I've missed it.
I just saw that he wasn't on the bench in your last game, so I was wondering whether he was injured or not. But your guy from BBC Radio, Lancashire or whatever, was on our Sound of the City last night, and he said that he could be on the bench. So, we shall see. But yeah, I think it's a shame that he hasn't got the game time with Burnley, and whether he was ever going to get that in the Premier League. And he was bought for the Championship, I don't know, but he's not getting the game time in the Championship either. So really weird.
Yeah, I think you make a good point there. I think he was bought for the Championship in case we went down, or then loaned out, something like that again, and just keep building up and building up. But obviously it's a different manager now and a different regime, so maybe the new manager doesn't fancy him. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd like to see him get more minutes. I definitely would. Obviously, on the Bristol City side, there's some ex-Burnley players. I want to start. We mentioned Nahki Wells already, so we'll skip past Nahki. I want to start off with Luke McNally, because Luke McNally was never going to get a game for Burnley, and that's not being harsh. I think when you look at the defenders we had at the club when we signed him, and with the defenders that we have at the club now, he's not going to get ahead of them. I know Jordan Bay has been injured for what seems like an eternity, but when we had Taylor Harwood-Bellis in the last Championship season and Jordan Bayer as our Championship defenders, he's not going to break into that. And then obviously last season, we weren't great in the Premier League, but we still had some good defenders. Bayer in the first half of the season, and Darver O'Shea, he splits opinion, to be fair, but obviously he's gone on to carry on being a Premier League defender. And obviously then Maxime Esteve was brought in January and is still there. And then obviously the likes of CJ and Riley, who's done very well as well. And there's loads of central defenders at the club side that I can say with my chest confidently are better than Luke McNally. However, he has gone into Bristol City, and I feel like he's done a very good job. And I feel like this is his level, like a club that is probably more sort of like mid-table, but has ambitions to break into that top 6. And if he will do a job. Like, he's probably not the best on the ball, if I remember rightly, but he can do a job. He will stop goals. He will win headers. So how is he doing at Bristol City?
So his first game was that 3-0 defeat at Blackburn. So it wasn't I remember literally his first touch, it went under his foot and was sort of, going towards goal. And I thought, oh no, here we go. And then he slid in and made a really good tackle after that. But I don't know how many games he played. So he was asked to come straight into a team because Rob Dickey was out injured. And we've got a few injuries, to be fair. Rob Atkinson is coming back. He hasn't played for, almost, I think it's 18 months or something like that. So he went in alongside Zach Viner, who was one of our best players last season, alongside Rob Dickey. So he's been asked to do a job. And what do I think of him? I think he has grown over the last 10 games. He's played 10 games, as I said, now scored a goal as well. Scored a goal at home to Cardiff. So he's given us a bit of aerial presence. He can clearly head the ball well. What I really like about him is he's a no-nonsense defender. He'll put a tackle in. He will just clear the danger and not try and be too clever. Sheffield United game, case
that
in
sums
point.
it up perfectly.
Rob Dickey got the ball from Hayden Roberts. It wasn't the greatest pass back to him. We're 1-0 up at this point, I think, or it might have been 1-1. And he's turned inside, tried to take on the striker, and lost the ball. Whereas if that was McNally, he's booting that. He's booting that down the field. So that's what I really like about Luke McNally, and he's filling in really well.
Yeah, I mean, I think with McNally, I think the way you've summed him up, he would be a great defender under a Sean Dyche side, like in a Sean Dyche team. Like he's your type of player that's Everton fans call that these type of defender, and I always like this saying. Like they say it about Tarky, or they did say it about Tarky when he was at Burnley, and I think they still do. That he's like a yard dog. Like he will come at you, he's gonna go through you, then he's just gonna boot it. I think he'd do well under Sean Dyche. Maybe not in the Premier League because I think he'd be a little bit out of his depth, but he would do well in like a Sean Dyche side. Whereas a Vincent Kompany team who need to play out from the back, that's not really his place.
And we are trying to play. To be fair, we are trying to play out from the back. That's got us in trouble at Blackburn. Actually, Max O'Leary passed it straight to the Blackburn striker who went and scored. But yeah, he can play football as well. I've seen evidence of that, but at the right time. 87th minute or whatever it was when Rob Dickey got sent off for trying to take on the striker. McNally's just booting that down. But other than that, you've got to know when to try and play it from the back. I think it needs a bit of intelligence, in-game intelligence from the footballers as well as the manager.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think we've got ourselves into trouble last year in the Premier League quite a lot, trying to play.
Can't do it in the Premier League.
But the thing is, like everybody wants to play that way now. Like everybody, like I was seeing clips of Bolton giving the ball away like after 4 yards out about 3-4 weeks ago. Like everybody wants to play that way, and this is in League One. I think I've seen clips of teams trying to do it in League Two in the comp. Like Pep has a lot to answer for. Everybody wants to play in a certain way,
and I think he can get away with it with players of Man City's quality. But when you try and do that all the time, you're going to get caught out unless you are top six.
Hence why Vincent Kompany got caught out so much last season, and hence why he shit himself and went to Bayern Munich because he knows he can get away with it there. But yeah, obviously another Burnley player that is now playing with you guys. One that I was a little bit disappointed to see leave is Scott Twine. I actually once saw him in Padiham Tesco, which is a small town next to Burnley, and the training ground is on the border of Burnley and Padiham. So when they turn out of the training ground and turn right, obviously those of you who know Burnley were thinking, shut up, mate, we know what you're on about, but I'm just explaining it for Patch. You turn right, and that's the way they go down towards the motorway. Then eventually there's a left turn, and you're on the A56 or M65, whichever way you want to go. Most of them go on the A56 towards Manchester to these Deansgate skyscrapers, like I've just mentioned. But he was in Padiham Tesco because that's halfway there in between the two. And he couldn't, for the life of him, find out where the carrier bags were. And he was looking for the bags. Like, he bought some bits and he was looking for the bags. And he's looking to the right. And like how you have these like £1.50 bags for lives that are all thermal and got a bit of insulation and that. He's picking one of them up with loads of flowers on it. And I just said to him, Scott, they're over there, and pointed over there. He said it in his posh accent. Oh, thanks, mate. And I was like, yeah, because I weren't sure if it were him at first, but when I obviously said his name and he turned around, I'm like, yeah, it's definitely him.
Well, he is from our part of the world. He's from Swindon.
Yeah, well, that's it. I remember the links in the summer when he were getting linked, because obviously he had the loan spell, and then he were getting linked to you, and he's like, oh, he loves it round there. He don't live too far away, and it all just made sense. But I do feel like last season he wasn't good enough to play in the Premier League, hence the loan. But I feel like when we got relegated, I remember thinking another year of experience under his belt. It was decent the first year in the Championship, not great, but decent. Scored a couple of free kick goals. And I think with 2 years more experience and being a better player, I was disappointed to see him go. I'll be honest with you. Again, does he get in ahead of the likes of Brownhill and stuff like that? Probably not. So you can see why he's been let go. But again, with some of the injuries that we've had and the creative issues we've had, I wouldn't mind seeing Scott Twine in a Burnley shirt, standing over the ball 20 yards out when we're struggling to score. The worrying thing is he's going to be standing over the ball in a red shirt this weekend, 20 yards out, hopefully, provided he's not injured, because that was a problem with Scott. Is he injured at the minute?
I don't think you'll see him on Saturday. I've got to be honest.
Good. Thank you. I've tweeted something that's out of date already then, because I tweeted a gif like, "Oh, please don't do this to me," or "You can't do this to me," and I put Burnley fans, and Scott Twine is stood over a free kick at 20 yards out. But I guess we won't be seeing it. But that was Scott Twine's problem for us. That he's too.
Well, he's been injured twice. He came on loan at the end of towards the end of last
he's
season.
Always injured.
And he missed 6 or 7 games, and then he signed for us and has been missing for the last, I'm not sure how many games, but he's injured again. So that's not great, is it?
He's made of crackers. He's absolutely made of Jacob's crackers. That he's far too injury prone, and I don't know whether it's a mental thing or his body just can't handle the constant football and stuff. I'm not sure, but it must be frustrating then, because
it is because we know how good he can be. We want a set piece specialist. That's something we've lacked for years. Someone who can deliver a good corner. How many times I've seen a corner delivered and it's not got past the first man. People who are listening, who listen to my podcast, know that that's my biggest bugbear. Is not beating the first man or trying to be too cute. You've got to just get it onto the edge of the 6-yard box and get Luke McNally, Rob Dickey, Zach Viner, whoever, to attack the ball and vary it. Don't do that every time. Vary it and trying to be a bit more clever. And I think Scott Twine can bring that. He can bring different ideas at free kicks, can score free kicks, can clearly pass the ball, can make a through ball. So when he's on song, he's brilliant. He's played 18 times for City, scored 3 goals. But would he get into the team even if he was fit on Saturday? Probably not, because the way we're playing at the moment and how well it worked at Norwich, I think they keep the shirt. Whoever's fit to come into the squad 2 weeks on, which is coming up this Saturday, I'd be surprised if they walk straight into the team. He may well be on the bench. I'm not sure whether his injury, whether he's back or not. I don't think he is. From remember from the last press conference, he's only just coming back onto the grass or doing some light training. So I don't think he'd even be on the bench from what I can gather. So yeah, he's definitely going to be a very important player. He's our marquee signing for the season. So he's going to be very important. And again, it's something different that we can play. So yeah, I think there's a lot more to come from Scott Twine, but yeah, this injury situation is a bit concerning.
Yeah, it was the same here. Constantly missing like 2, 3, 4 games here and there and stuff like that, and you just can't get a run in the team, and you're always going to fall out of favour if you're constantly injured. He needs to work on that.
I'll tell you what as well. What caused a bit of a stir at the start of the season was we signed him as a number 10, and we were playing predominantly a 4-2-3-1 formation, and he was playing on the left or the right of the 3.
Yeah.
So everyone was like, we signed him to play in a number 10 role behind the striker. Why is he playing out wide? So that was causing a bit of a storm. And then when we play this 3-4-2-1, then he's a number 10 with someone else. So where did he get his best football for Burnley?
We didn't play him. It's going back. You've tested my memory there. I can't really remember where we played him too much. I think again, he sometimes played in a 10. He sometimes played on the right or the left hand side of the forward line. But I think that even then in that championship season, I think the majority of it was just coming off the bench. So he never really got like a proper run in the team, if I remember rightly.
Well, yeah, because he came from MK Dons to you, I guess, which is where he worked with Liam Manning. So there's that pre-existing relationship. And I said at the start about Liam building his own team, and he's bringing in trusted players that he's worked with in the past as well. So I think that kind of is a model that a lot of managers use. Add into that as well, Marcus McGuane, who we signed from Oxford, who I expect to start on Saturday, and he is a solid midfielder. So yeah, there's good stuff all over the pitch. It's just getting them all to perform at that level.
Just quickly getting his stats up on the Wikipedia stats. So I'll take him with a pinch of salt. He only played 14 times for Burnley.
Really? Wow.
Goals. Yeah.
That's
so I do
league,
remember him being mainly a bench player.
Yeah, that's probably league only. But cup games you probably had 3 or 4 on. But I don't know if your listeners would be interested, but I've got a list of 24 players to have played for Burnley and Bristol City.
Go for it. See if we can remember them. Let's see if I can remember any of them. Now, did Akinbaye play for you? Adi Akinbaye?
Yeah.
I remember Adi Akinbaye playing for you guys.
Yeah,
who else
so that's one more. I've not got. He actually isn't on this list, so that's another one. So I'll read you out what I've got. Nathan Abbey.
Don't remember him.
Dele Adebola.
I remember him.
Yeah. Junior Bent in the 90s.
Junior
Bent in the 90s, yeah. Andre BK.
Oh, did BK play for you? Yeah, legend.
Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah. Obviously, Josh Brownhill. Andy Cole.
Didn't spend so long at Burnley, but...
No. Was that one of his sort of sides towards the end, I think, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas he started more or less with us. We got him on loan from Arsenal and then signed him. Peter Devine, not a name I remember. Louis Donowa was late 80s, early 90s. Wade Elliott, captain for us.
Elliott, of course.
Yeah, captain for us in our double winning season. Jerry Gow, who's a legend from the 70s. Tony Grant, Jack Harris, Tom Heaton.
Oh, of course, Heaton played in. Oh no, that because Heaton went to Cardiff. I nearly offended you there, which would have been karma for earlier. But I was going to say Heaton played in the cup final, but obviously that must have been for Cardiff.
Yeah, and that wasn't for us. The season he played for us, we finished. Where did we finish? I think it might have even been bottom, but it wasn't a great season.
Oh yeah, was that the year you got relegated and we signed a couple of players off you?
Probably. He was actually our player of the season that season as well.
Oh, I'm thinking of Charlton.
Matt Hewlett is a player from the 90s. Chris Iwelumo.
Did he play for you guys? Didn't know that.
Only a handful of appearances. He was commentated in the Sheffield United game actually, and was saying about his time at City on loan from Wolves.
I remember now that makes sense because all I saw was a load of Sheffield United fans whinging at how biased his commentary was, and I remember thinking like, why would it be biased against Sheffield United? But obviously, it was biased toward you.
Yeah, only a few appearances, but yeah, enjoyed his time. Luke Manali, Hanno Masengo, Mickey Mellon. Yeah, a player from the late 80s, early 90s. Martin Patterson.
Did he play for you guys? He scored one of probably the best, my favourite ever Burnley goal. My favourite ever Burnley goal. Reading away in the playoffs, like 40, 35 yards out. All the defenders are back. It's 1-0 to Burnley. Playoff semi-final, second leg. Burnley are 1-0 up from the first leg. It's 0-0 in this game. We've been under the cosh. I'm thinking we're going to go out. Reading have been a better side over us over the course of the season. And Martin Patterson from 35, 40 yards out just smashes it top bins. If you have some time later in the afternoon, mate, look for it. Reading 0, Burnley 2, both screamers. Martin Patterson is the favourite of my goals. Stephen Thompson scores a screamer as well, and Burnley going to Wembley. My favourite ever Burnley goal, that.
Well, he only made 8 appearances for City and scored 1 goal in 2014, so not too many. Sam Vokes.
Did he play for you? He's another Burnley legend. Is Vokes? Will Vokes here?
Sam Vokes made 1 appearance for City against Millwall. First game of the season in 2010. That was also David James's debut for us. We lost 3-0. Naki Wells and Chris Wood.
Chris Wood. I didn't remember. When did he play for you guys? Was it one of his many loans?
2012. 2011-2012 season, 19 appearances, 3 goals. So there you go. And
he's on fire at the minute, by the way.
I'm sure there's more. Yeah, absolutely.
He's on absolute fire.
Yeah. So yeah, it's quite a lot there.
Yeah, one of his many loans, Chris Wood. I did not know that. He was on loan so many times, was Chris Wood, over the course of his career. But anyway, let's we're already pushing 40 minutes. This is a good sign though. It means you're a good talker. Let's get back to the crux of it.
We can make this as long as you need to be. I can tell you about Gladiator 2.
Well, like I said to you before, mate, I ain't editing this. That's why I put all the videos and the pictures on at the beginning. So there's no chance it's getting cut down. So let's get back into the crux of it. Predictions for this weekend, then, please, mate. Well, first of all, not score prediction. What sort of game are you expecting, and how are you expecting Bristol City to set up?
Well, after chatting to you for the past hour, it sounds like it's going to be really tight, really cagey affair. I think we have got options that could break you down, but I think we're going to need to take our chances. I think if we get a chance, we're going to need to take it. It really depends on that. Really, I think it's going to be. I would take a 1-0 win now. I think we've got that opportunity.
Yeah.
What for us?
No, for us. If someone offered me a 1-0 win now, I'd take it, just because we haven't been great, and I think if we are going to win, it's probably going to be 1-0.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tight affair. Again, clip this out, and it'll be a high scoring game either way. But no, I'm excited. A, because it's Bristol City football back after an international break. B, it's always great to see good teams come down, and we seem to perform better against the good teams, and sometimes struggle against the teams down the wrong side of the table. So it's going to be a good game, and I always love to see former players come back. So Josh Brownhill will get a great reception, and fingers crossed, Masengo comes on for the last 5 minutes, and we're 2-0 up or something. And we can
I was going to say, comes on for the last 5 minutes and bags the winner. I'm sure the reception might be a little bit different next time.
Yeah, that would be interesting. But I can't see him. Doing that. But yeah, it's going to be a good game, and I'm really excited to see how it goes on Saturday. But prediction-wise, a 1-0 victory.
Yeah, I'm going to go low scoring. You know what? I'm going to go draw. I'm going to go 0-0. I'm going to go draw. I think we'll go, not necessarily stink the place out, because I do think that's harsh, but we'll be slow with the ball, good defensively, not create enough, but restrict you and your more creative players, because statistically we have got the best defence in the league. We've only conceded what I think it is 6 goals all season. It might be a little bit more now. Yes, 6 goals all season we've conceded. So that's 6 out of 15. Wow. So you're going to do
impressive.
Well against us. You're going to do well.
We conceded six in 2 games, Burnley, and I said done it again.
He's done it again. He's done it again. Let's just, instead of getting offended by it, let's just admit it's because Burnley are the biggest club in Lancashire, and you just can't get Burnley out your head. So you always say Burnley. That's what it is.
That is it. Yeah, and I'm looking at your picture, and I just think Burnley. Yeah, but last season, I don't know the stats off the top of my head, but last season we had one of the best defenses in the league. So yeah.
Just looking at your stats for this season, 19 goals conceded, 20 goals scored. So if it descends into that kind of game, we might be able to score a couple. You might be able to score a couple. But Burnley have scored 18 goals, and 9 of them were in the first 2 games. So since then, in 13 games, it's been a further 9.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be low scoring. So take it as Burnley scored 9 and conceded 5 in the last 13 games, and that tells you all you need to know. It's not going to be free flowing. It's not going to be entertaining. There's not going to be a lot of goals. It's going to be tight. If you win, you win 1-0. If we win, we win 1-0.
Yeah, I'll take whatever we get. I'm happy to be back down Ashton Gate.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I'm happy to get the football back as well. But we'll wrap it up there, mate. But before we do, do you want to let everybody know where they can find you, what platforms you're on, and how they can listen to your content ahead of this weekend?
Yeah, thanks, mate. So 3 Peeps in a podcast at 3PIAPC on Twitter or X, and we're going into our 10th year. First 5 years was non-football related, so that's what we now call the original show. So anything that starts with episode and then a number is usually non-football related. So there's some interviews down the years with people like Jeff Stelling, Dom Jolly, lots of all from different walks of life. So check out some of those episodes. And then the Bristol City content is Robin's review, which is the review of every game. And then Robin's Reunited, where I get two players from the past back together to chat about their time at Bristol City. So a variety of content, and it's available on all good podcast stockists.
And some rubbish ones as well, I presume.
Well, there may be. There's some I've never heard of, to be honest. I don't know how it gets there, but it does.
Same, mate. Same. But yeah, thank you for coming on the show, mate. It's been a pleasure. The longest pre-game show I think we've ever recorded. I've not got 10 years under my belt like you, but I've been running the page for about 6-7 years now and doing the pods for about 4 or 5. So you're the longest pre-game show in about 4 or 5 years, mate. So you can take that. That means you're a good talker.
It's because we're so excited to be chatting about Championship football.
Yeah, exactly that, mate. Well, thank you for that. We'll wrap it up here. But as I always say, good luck for the rest of the season, but obviously after Saturday.
Yeah, same to you.